What's up guys, my name is Marc Steiner, and today we are talking about the Apple Watch Series 6. Let's get right into it. So, this is my first ever Apple Watch, and this is going to be an in-depth review now that I've had it for a couple of months. For me, the Apple Watch has always been a complementary device and never a necessity, and all the previous generations weren't really worth it in my opinion, but this is the first one I'd consider buying. It finally had everything I wanted out of a smartwatch. It could be independent of my iPhone, it had GPS, it could track my workouts, and most importantly for me is be able to listen to music without my iPhone while I was on those workouts. This watch met all of those requirements, and that's why I decided to buy this one. So for all of you who are already Apple Watch owners and want to know what's new on this version, not much, honestly. The physical body is the same, the digital crown is the same, the screen is the same, it's a little bit brighter, but you're not going to be able to tell. Honestly, this is a very incremental update. The biggest new feature is the blood oxygen sensor, so you can once and for all prove to people that wearing a mask does not impact your blood oxygen levels. In my personal opinion, I think this feature is kind of gimmicky. It's a bit unreliable, and it's measuring in a spot that isn't ideal for this kind of measurement. Sure, you can take the watch off and place it on a more traditional spot to take this kind of measurement, like your finger, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having it on a watch. When in ideal circumstances, like sitting down and resting your arm on a hard table or something like that, it is able to read it, and I usually found pretty accurate results between 98 and 100%. But in any other circumstance, if you're out and about, if you're walking, it's not going to be able to get an accurate measurement, and you are going to get an error message. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm in pretty good shape, and I'm not personally buying this watch for its health features. It has the same sensors as the previous generation watches, the EKG and the heart rate monitor, but I don't really check these because I have no issues with this part of my health. So for me, it's just kind of a fun thing that it runs in the background, and I can see the data on my phone, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. But it's not something, since I have no health issues like that I'm actually worried about and buying it for health checking purposes. The only other hardware upgrade you're gonna see on this watch is the S6 chip inside of this watch. That just makes it faster and better and future-proof, but honestly, if you're coming from a Series 5, you're not going to notice any difference whatsoever because that was already super blazing fast in WatchOS, as well as the new W3 chip, and this is what we predict will be used with the AirTags, but at this current moment, there is no use for this chip, so it's in there, doing nothing. You're not going to notice a difference right now. The biggest physical change you're probably going to notice with this watch is not with the watch itself, but with the watch bands. Apple now has these brand new loop bands, and they are just one solid wristband, which is really nice. I wear my wristbands all the time, so now I can just stretch my watch on and off, and I actually really like it. It fits very comfortably, and it's a really nice, easy way and stylish to just put it on your wrist real quick and not have to worry about buckles or sizing like that with the different watch bands. However, if you do have the opportunity to go to a physical store, I would highly recommend you do so, because trying it on online or just trying to guess or using even the paper that Apple provides you online that you can print out is not super accurate. I would highly recommend sizing down because it's going to expand as you take it on and off your wrist. I got a smaller size, which was very tight on me, and now since it's been a month and a half, it's loosened up about a half size, I'd say. So you definitely want to size down no matter what, not if you're in between sizes, just size down no matter what, because it will expand when you use it. All right, on to my experience actually using the watch. I've been using this watch for going on long walks or runs without needing to bring my iPhone, while being able to track my workout and listen to music, and it's been working flawlessly for that. I can just put in my AirPods and the watch automatically detects them, so I can start listening to music while I'm out and about just with the watch, which is really nice. You can also pair other Bluetooth headphones like my XM4s, and it works flawlessly. Right now, you can only actually sync songs to your Apple Watch if you're using Apple Music, but I have heard rumors and seen screenshots and betas of Spotify coming to the Apple Watch, so that's a possibility in the future. I found my walk and run tracking to be pretty accurate, and I love all the data it sends to your phone, like your average pace, your cadence, and your splits, which is really nice. I've also been taking it swimming a lot since it is waterproof up to 50 meters, so you're good for swimming and other aquatic activities. When I'm swimming, it's not usually for a workout, it's usually more of a chill activity, so I just kind of swim out as I feel, and then I kind of just tread water and then swim back. And for that, I found that the swim workout tracking is actually really poor. Sometimes it'll say I did 80 meters, other times it'll say I did about a kilometer, even though I did the exact same thing almost every time. So not very accurate in that sense. I think this is much more geared towards hardcore swimmers who are swimming kilometers and miles out in a straight line, or in a pool when you're just doing laps in a straight line. So if you're like me and it's more of a chill activity and you're not really doing that much movement, your watch isn't gonna pick up on it very accurately at all. What I did start to do was actually start a walking workout while I was swimming, and it tracked me much more accurately. Ejecting the water out of the watch is super satisfying. It's a simple and easy mechanic and it gets the job done. I personally like to run it a couple of times just to make sure that all the water gets out. Apple's gamification of fitness is great. I found myself working out more since I bought the watch because I wanted to close those rings. It's a great daily goal to have, and you just want to close those rings, man. In non-exercise uses, this watch is super helpful as well. All the notifications come to my watch so I can screen them and see if they're worthy of me pulling out my phone, and they're usually not. So I've actually been lowering my screen time on my phone, which I'm very proud of. You can also respond to notifications on the watch itself, which is really nice to see. And the talk to text function is actually very accurate, and I've been using it more and more when responding to texts because it's so good. The watch also has Siri built in, which you can activate by raising your wrist to talk or by saying, "Hey Siri." I found that the raising of the wrist activation of Siri works about 65% of the time, so I just found myself saying, "Hey Siri" more because it's way more consistent. The new WatchOS brings some cool new features to all available watches, like sleep tracking, cool new watch faces, and a hand washing counter. Sleep tracking is the most notable of the new features, and it's something that I personally like to know about. The problem with the sleep tracking on the Apple Watch is that it's a very basic form of sleep tracking. It's not monitoring quality of sleep, it's literally just tracking when you turn it on versus when you turn it off. And the problem is I set it for my bedtime and wake up time. So if I go to bed later than that or wake up later than that, it's not tracking me actually sleeping. It's just tracking that I was in bed and it had it activated during that time period. So if I wake up at 4 in the morning and I start checking my phone, it'll count that towards as not sleeping, which I like. But if I am just staying awake in bed and not actually sleeping, it tracks that as sleep. Or if I set my alarm for 8:30, it ends sleep tracking, and if I sleep in to 10, it doesn't track those additional 2 hours. So for me, it's not the most accurate thing. If you want a more accurate reading, you should manually turn it on before you go to sleep and then manually turn it off when you wake up. It's, it's information that's there and it's helpful, but it's not the most accurate thing in the world. With the new update comes new watch faces, nothing that I particularly care about. There are two main watch faces that I personally use, and I really like how you can customize them. You can change the colors, you can change the widgets for what information you actually want to be seen. So I was surprised how much customization you can actually do with the watch faces. You can save multiple watch faces for different use cases and swipe between them on the watch. Let's talk about battery life. I'm easily getting all day battery life, sometimes even day and a half depending on my use and when I charge it. But now with the sleep tracking, you're charging it at awkward times. I usually tend to charge it right when I wake up as I'm getting ready for the day and then put it on, and then I charge it again right before bed so it's fully topped up before I sleep. Charging is pretty fast too, going from 0 to 100% in 90 minutes. Even if you don't have that full hour and a half to spare, you can get a pretty decent charge up in just a small amount of time. Now, Apple for the first time ever has released an SE version of the Apple Watch. So this comes in at a much lower price, but without all the bells and whistles. And in my personal opinion, that's the one to get. While I was doing my research and debating between the Series 6 and the SE, I found myself leaning towards the SE more because it seemed to do everything I wanted it, and then I came across the fact that it doesn't have the always-on display, and I decided that that was a deal breaker for me. But after using the Series 6 as much as I have, I noticed that that's not that big a deal for me. I tend to do this motion when I'm checking the time anyway, and when you get notifications, it vibrates and turns the screen on anyway, so most of the time, I'm not glancing at my watch with the always-on display that it's that big of an issue, and I think that the SE is the better option because, like I said before, I'm not using all of these fancy health sensors in here. I don't really care about that stuff, so it works for what I want it to do, and I think that most people will prefer the SE to the Series 6. Speaking of the watch I chose to get, I have the 44mm black aluminum GPS Series 6. I personally don't see any need for a cellular version of this watch because it's always connected to my phone anyway, and when it's not connected to my phone, that's very purposeful, and I want to be disconnected and I don't want notifications coming in. On top of that, it drains the battery life faster, and it has specific bands for your location. So if you're traveling, those bands are useless and it becomes just a GPS model anyway. So why not save some money, save some battery life, and just get the GPS model? All in all, this is a fun little useful device, and I think it's the first Apple Watch worth buying. It's definitely not a necessity, but I don't regret my purchase, and I do finally understand the hype from fellow Apple Watch users. This is definitely going to be a very popular holiday gift. But I want to know what you guys think. Are you leaning more towards the Series 6? Are you leaning more towards the SE? Are you thinking about upgrading from your current Apple Watch? Let me know in the comment section down below. My name is Marc Steiner, and I'll see you next time.